It's English time! Hi, I'm Teacher Mitch. Come and join me as we learn English the easy way. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to keep updated with my latest uploads. Please also share and hit the like button if you appreciate my videos. Thank you! Hello everyone! Congratulations! We are now in quarter 4. For our first lesson, our target most essential learning competency is distinguish technical terms used in research. By the end of the fourth quarter, your goal is for you to compose a research report on a relevant social issue. Writing a research paper or a research report can be a toilsome task for some. Huwag kang panghinaan ng loob. Let me guide you as you discover how to write one. But before that, allow yourself to get familiar first with the most common technical terms used in research. Challenge yourself by guessing the words being defined. Handa ka na ba? Let's start! Word number 1. It is an art of scientific investigation. A careful and detailed study into a specific problem, concern, or issue using the scientific method. Regarded as a systematic effort to gain new knowledge. For its dictionary meaning, it is a careful investigation or enquiry, especially through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. The answer is research. Research is also defined as an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. It is systematic because there is a definite set of procedures and steps which you will follow. There are certain things in the research process which are always done in order to get the most accurate results. It is organized in a sense that there is a structure or method in going about doing research. It is a planned procedure, not a spontaneous one. It is focused and limited to a specific scope. Finding answers is the end of all research. Whether it is the answer to a hypothesis or even a simple question, research is successful when we find answers. Sometimes, the answer is no, but it is still an answer. Questions are central to research. If there is no question, then the answer is of no use. Research is focused on relevant, useful, and important questions. Without a question, research has no focus, drive, or purpose. Word number 2. It is a piece of academic writing that provides analysis, interpretation, and argument based on in-depth independent research. The answer is research paper. Research paper ang tawag kapag dinocument nyo ang research study nyo. Ito mismo ang ipapacheck nyo sa research advisor nyo. Next word, it is a short summary of your completed research. Intended to describe your work without going into detail. Should be self-contained and concise, explaining your work as briefly and clearly as possible. The answer is abstract. Probably the most important function of an abstract is to help a reader decide if he or she is interested in reading your entire research paper. Here is the next word. The next part after the title and abstract. It leads the reader from a general subject area to a particular topic of inquiry. It establishes the scope, context, and significance of the research being conducted by summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic, stating the purpose of the work in the form of the research problem supported by a hypothesis or a set of questions, explaining briefly the methodological approach used to examine the research problem, highlighting the potential outcomes your study can reveal, and outlining the remaining structure and organization of the paper. If you answered introduction, then you are correct. Word number 5. It provides an overview of sources you have explored, including books, scholarly articles, and any other sources relevant to a particular issue, area of research, or theory to demonstrate to your readers how your research fits within a larger field of study. It also provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing you to identify relevant theories, methods, and gaps in the existing research. The answer is literature review or review of related literature. A good literature review does not just summarize sources. It analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. Now, can you guess this word? It is a statement of expectation or prediction that will be tested by research. It is commonly known as the researcher's intellectual guess or wild guess about the possible result of the study. If you answered hypothesis, that's correct. It is spelled as hypothesis kapag singular, and hypothesis naman kapag plural. Here is a sample hypothesis. Quality of sleep affects academic performance. This is the intellectual guess of the researcher. He is predicting that the quality of sleep has a direct effect on a student's academic performance. The researcher expresses through his hypothesis na ang haba o ikli ng tulog ng isang estudyante, maging ang oras kung kailan siya natulog, ay nakaaapekto sa academic performance. And this particular hypothesis will be tested kaya siya magkakandak ng study. Sample hypothesis number 2. People exposed to high levels of ultraviolet light have a higher incidence of cancer than the norm. This hypothesis is also testable because it is possible to find a group of people who have been exposed to high levels of ultraviolet light and compare their cancer rates to the average. Next word. The systematic method to resolve a research problem through data gathering using various techniques, providing an interpretation of data gathered, and drawing conclusions about the research data. That is methodology. The aim of methodology is to ensure valid and reliable results that address the research aims and objectives. It is where the researcher will decide what data to collect and what data to ignore, who to collect it from. In research, this is called sampling design. How to collect it. This is called data collection methods. And how to analyze it. This is called data analysis methods. Next, this word means the entire group that you want to draw conclusions about. In research, it doesn't always refer to people. It can mean a group containing elements of anything you want to study, such as objects, events, organizations, countries, species, organisms, and others. The word is population. Word number 9. A smaller part or subgroup of the population. The specific group within a population that you will collect data from. The group of individuals who will participate in your study. They are the ones who will answer surveys or interviews. The answer is sample. Why is there a need for sampling? Here are some of the reasons why we need to do sampling. Bakit nga ba kailangan gawin ng sampling? Bakit hindi na lang kumuha ng data sa buong population? The first reason is necessity. Sometimes, it's simply not possible to study the whole population due to its size or inaccessibility. Practicality. It's easier and more efficient to collect data from a sample than from a population. Cost effectiveness. There are fewer participants, laboratory equipment, and researcher costs involved. And lastly, manageability. Storing and running statistical analysis on smaller datasets is easier and reliable. Now, the sample or the people who the researcher selects for their study is further categorized into 3: respondents, participants, and subjects. Respondents generally answer or respond or reply to the questions asked by the researcher. No more, no less. Participants, on the other hand, participate and answer questions in qualitative studies, examples of which are interviews and focus groups. Because qualitative studies are more in-depth than quantitative, the participant in qualitative studies contributes more or is more active than the respondents to a survey or subjects in an experiment. The participant generally gives much more detailed answers than a respondent would in a survey. Now, subjects are the people in the researcher's experiment, which is usually quantitative research. Example, in a medical experiment, the control group of 10 subjects did not receive the medicine, while the experimental group of 10 subjects received the medicine. Subject is a term used more in science. Subject is generally a more passive term. Next word na tayo. Any factor, trait, or condition that can be manipulated, controlled for, or measured in an experiment. The answer is variable. There are 2 common variable types in research: the independent and dependent. Independent variable is the variable in an experiment that is changed or manipulated. It is assumed to have a direct effect on the dependent variable. On the other hand, dependent variable is the variable that responds to the changes. It is the variable being tested and measured. As the name implies, it is dependent on the independent variable. Take a look once again at the hypothesis given earlier. Quality of sleep affects academic performance. Sa hypothesis pa lang, makikita nyo na agad kung ano yung variables. And those are the quality of sleep and academic performance. Now, alin sa dalawang variables na ito ang independent at dependent? Let's see. Quality of sleep is the independent variable, while academic performance is the dependent variable. Bakit? Dahil yung pagtulog ang variable na pwede nating i-manipulate o i-adjust para malaman natin kung makakaapekto ba talaga yung quality of sleep sa academic performance. Academic performance naman ang dependent variable dahil ito ang nagre-respond sa changes. Let's say, kapag mahimbing o kumpleto ang tulog mo, mas maganda ang performance mo sa school. At kapag naman puyat ka o kulang sa tulog, ay hindi ka makakonsentrate sa pag-aaral. Now, let's proceed to our next word. It is any tool that you may use to collect or obtain data, measure data, and analyze data that is relevant to the subject of your research. The format may consist of questionnaires, surveys, interviews, checklists, or simple tests. The answer is research instrument. The choice of which specific research instrument tool to use will be decided on by the researcher. What makes a good research instrument? A good research instrument is one that has been validated and has proven reliability. It should be one that can collect data in a way that's appropriate to the research question being asked. The research instrument must be able to assist in answering the research aims, objectives, and research questions, as well as prove or disprove the hypothesis of the study. It should not have any bias in the way that data is correct, and it should be clear as to how the research instrument should be used appropriately. Since we are talking about research instrument, our next word refers to the main instrument for collecting data in survey research. Basically, it is a set of standardized questions, often called items, which follow a fixed scheme in order to collect individual data about one or more specific topics. If you answered questionnaire, then you are correct. We are now here at word number 13. Any information that has been collected, observed, generated, or created to validate original research findings. The answer is data. Research data takes many different forms. Data may be intangible, as in measured numerical values found in a spreadsheet, or an object, as in physical research materials such as samples of rocks, plants, or insects. Next word. The section of a research paper where the authors provide the data collected during their study. The answer is results, also called as findings. Word number 15. The section of a research paper whose purpose is to interpret and describe the significance of your findings in light of what was already known about the research problem being investigated, and to explain any new understanding or insights that emerged as a result of your study of the problem. That is discussion. The objectives of your discussion section should include the following. Number 1. Reiterate the research problem or state the major findings. Number 2. Explain the meaning of the findings and why they are important. 3. Relate the findings to similar studies. 4. Consider alternative explanations of the findings. 5. Acknowledge the study's limitations. And lastly, make suggestions for further research. Next word. It is intended to help the reader understand why your research should matter to them after they have finished reading the paper. It is not merely a summary of your points or a restatement of your research problem, but a synthesis of key points. This is the conclusion. Conclusion is where you wrap up your ideas and leave the reader with a strong final impression. Conclusion has several key goals. Restate the research problem addressed in the paper. Summarize your overall arguments or findings. And suggest the key takeaways from your paper. Second to the last word. This is the last page of a research paper that lists all the sources you used in your study. It also gives credit to authors you have consulted for their ideas. It's the reference. And for the final word, it serves as a space for materials that help clarify your research, but do not belong in the main text. This is where the researchers attach a copy of their research instrument, such as interview transcripts, questionnaires, or surveys. The answer is Appendix. Congratulations! I hope na marami kang natutunang technical terms used in research sa video nating ito. Hanggang sa muli! Thanks for watching!